Mangwanani mwalelepo vukenjani class vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. On today's episode, we bring you breaking news and deep insights from across the continent. In Kenya, President William Ruto dodges a shoe mid-speech, underscoring public anger over the high cost of living. Rwanda begins talks to host migrants deported from the U.S., and Sudan's genocide case against the UAE is dismissed by the UN's top court. We examine threats to press freedom spreading across African nations and explore African representation in the upcoming Papal Conclave. Plus, don't miss the Zimbabwe Report with Talent Gore, bringing you the latest in current affairs, entertainment, and sport. Do watch us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top stories shortly.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Kenya's President William Ruto was targeted by a shoe-throwing protester during a speech addressing the high cost of living, a major source of public frustration. Videos shared online showed Ruto blocking the shoe with his arm before continuing his remarks at the rally in Migori County. Despite rolling back tax increases and bringing opposition members into his cabinet, discontent remains widespread in Kenya. Interior Minister Kipchumba Murkomen confirmed 3 arrests over the incident. The protest mirrors the 2008 incident where an Iraqi journalist hurled shoes at then U.S. President George W. Bush in anger over the Iraq War. Ruto, who has faced growing criticism over economic struggles, remained unharmed and pressed on with his speech, asking the crowd, "We have said we are reducing the price of fertilizer, true or false?" The government continues to grapple with public dissatisfaction as living costs strain Kenyan households. Rwanda is in preliminary discussions with the U.S. to accept deported migrants, Foreign Minister Olivier Nduhungirehe confirmed in a televised interview. The East African nation has previously positioned itself as a relocation hub for migrants unwanted by Western nations, despite criticisms from rights groups over the human rights record in Rwanda. A similar 2022 deal with Britain was scrapped last year. Nduhungirehe stated talks with the U.S. remain in early stages with no finalized terms. The Trump administration has intensified deportations, recently sending an Iraqi refugee to Rwanda over alleged ISIS ties. The UNHCR has raised concerns that migrants could face refoulement, which Rwanda denies. In our third story, the International Court of Justice dismissed Sudan's case accusing the UAE of complicity in genocide by allegedly supporting Sudan's Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. Sudan claimed UAE provided military and financial backing, enabling atrocities in Darfur, but the court ruled it lacked jurisdiction as the UAE had opted out of Genocide Convention provisions, allowing interstate lawsuits. The UAE called the case political theater, while Sudan argued the RSF committed ethnic killings and sexual violence with Emirati support. Though rejected, the case highlighted attempts to hold nations accountable for fueling foreign conflicts. Both sides in Sudan's civil war face atrocity allegations amid a worsening humanitarian crisis. Press freedom is under unprecedented attack across Africa as governments intensify crackdowns on independent journalism. In 2025, numerous countries have implemented restrictive laws like Zimbabwe's Patriot Act and Madagascar's Cybercriminality Code, forcing journalists into self-censorship. The situation is particularly dire in Sudan, where 30 journalists have been killed since the civil war began, with reporters routinely facing violence and arrests. Mozambique has seen journalists tear-gassed at press conferences, while Benin's proposed digital code revisions threaten to further stifle independent media. Nigeria continues using its Cybercrime Act to target critical voices, drawing condemnation from press freedom groups. Across East and Southern Africa, reporters covering corruption or human rights abuses risk intimidation, detention, and even death. Amnesty International and Reporters Without Borders warn these trends represent a dangerous erosion of democratic principles, with governments increasingly treating investigative journalism as a threat rather than a public good. As cardinals gather to elect the next pope, 17 African cardinals from an original 18 are eligible to vote in the most geographically diverse conclave in history. With 133 total electors from 71 countries, a two-thirds majority of 89 votes is needed for election. Italy leads with 17 voting cardinals, followed by the US with 10 and Brazil with 7. Africa's representation, while smaller than Europe's 52 electors, reflects the Church's global reach. The conclave beginning this week will determine the leader of 1.4 billion Catholics amid shifting priorities. Two cardinals, including Kenya's, have withdrawn due to health reasons. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. We're going to swing into the weather before Talent Gore delivers the Zimbabwe Report.
Irongomed is a leading distributor, working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irongomed is committed to making a difference. What about you?
It is time for us to engage with Talent Gore as she brings us the latest news stories stemming from the House of Stone in the Zimbabwe Report. Talent Wamkase.
Tamkhedu kana wamka mamkase Africa.
Tamuka Hedu. Now, a minister has said, go and see for yourself, as he pleads with Mnangagwa after a public hospital visit.
Yes, apparently for Zimbabwe, this is something new. We haven't had ministers come in public and say something like that. So the minister is a Zimbabwe's youth minister, Tino Machakairi, and he pleaded with President Emmerson Mnangagwa to visit the public hospitals themselves in a dire state. He said this after his relative was admitted at one of Zimbabwe's public hospitals. His comments were made on X and an unusual step by a minister and a break from blanket denials that pour out of the government whenever the state of Zimbabwe's healthcare is brought up. Machakere said in government's desire to present progress, they might unintentionally overlook important realities on the ground, especially in the hospitals. So he said that there was a need for the president to visit the public hospitals to see for himself the state that the hospitals are in. So this is something that is new, and many people commended Tino Machakere, and some have said that we have been telling the government that the state in the hospitals is dire, is bad, and something should be done. They have been ignoring us, but because a minister's relative was admitted in the public hospitals, this is when they are now coming up and actually admitting that there is a need for the president himself, or rather there is a need for them to do something to the situation in the public hospitals in Zimbabwe. So the comments made waves on social media, and some people are commending Tino Machakere, and some are actually saying that he's going to be fired because the government does not want anyone who speaks for the people, or rather who tells the truth as they are. So we're just going to be monitoring the situation to see if President Emmerson Mnangagwa is actually going to visit hospitals themselves and see the situation in the hospitals, because truth be told, the situation in the in Zimbabwe's public hospitals is quite bad, and a lot of people have been complaining for years now, have been talking about it for years now, but nothing has been done. You find out that the government will come and try to defend and say that they actually do have medicine, the hospitals are working, they have working machines, but there are people, there are activists who actually tell the government the situation on the ground. So we're just going to be monitoring the situation to see if President Mnangagwa will actually visit the public hospitals after this call by Zim Youth Minister Tino Machakere.
All right, Talent, we certainly hope those calls are heeded by the president. Zimbabwe power utility company ZESA warns of increased load shedding after Hwange fault.
Yes, already the country has been experiencing power shortages, but on Sunday, the Zimbabwe power company ZESA warned of depressed power generation due to faults at Hwange Colliery. The power utility said the faults at the core-powered generator on Sunday had resulted in the reduction of available power supplies. The company also said that the unforeseen incident has necessitated increased load shedding across all customer groups. The company did not state if the fault which was being experienced was with the old generators, the new generators which were assembled, or rather which were built by the Chinese engineers. So we're not really sure if the new units that were built by the Chinese engineers is the one that has a fault, or the older units. But for the past three months now, we have been experiencing load shedding, bad loading, but right now it has increased. Whereas you find out that if electricity goes in the morning, let's say for example at 6 a.m., usually it comes back around 8 p.m. But as of now, we are experiencing load shedding up until 12 midnight, up until 1 a.m. So we're just hoping that the fault will be addressed soon, so that we can at least have power, we can have electricity for different things. Usually, right now, most people in Zimbabwe, they are now relying on solar. Most people have installed solar power backup at their homes and companies, because we can't rely on electricity anymore.
Wow. Yeah, truly saddening situation, and it has been like that for a while, indeed, Talent. Now, in your next story, second-hand clothes are behind the infestation of bed bugs ravaging Harare.
Yes, another round of second-hand clothes have been blamed for the bedbug infestation which has ravaged Harare residents, particularly in Mbare. But just last week, the Minister of Local Government, Daniel Garwe, and the Mayor of Harare, Jacob Mafume, they visited Mbare flats where they were actually spraying those flats off the bed bugs. But the residents of saying that second-hand clothing, and even the mayor himself, they are blaming second-hand clothes. They are blaming second-hand clothes for the outbreak of bed bugs in Bari. They are saying that these second-hand clothes which are coming from Mozambique, from Zambia, from all across the world, they are the ones which are carrying the bed bugs. And people who sell these clothes, they work in Bari, and they leave their bales, their second-hand clothes in Bari, in the fair in Bari. So they are saying that is where the bed bugs are coming from. They are coming from, and some have actually blamed poor living conditions. They have blamed living conditions for the outbreak of bed bugs. Just last week, the government and the city of Harare, they were spraying Mbare floods, but the residents of Mbare are saying that the situation has actually gotten worse. So the city of Harare has to do something more to ensure that the bed bug outbreak does not spread across Harare. Apparently, there are reports that in Mavuku, in Tafara, and in Fakosi, there are reports of bed bugs actually being found there. So right now, the situation is quite bad, and we as the residents of Harare, we are afraid that because, right in Zimbabwe, most people they can't afford to buy new clothes. They go to Mbare to buy second-hand clothes. So there is a fear that those people are going to buy those clothes in Mbare are actually, and going across the city, and rather some are actually going out of Harare, are the ones who are actually spreading the bed bugs across. So the city of Harare and the government itself has to do something to ensure that the outbreak is contained and it does not spread any further.
All right, Talent now. Marvelous Nakamba's Luton future is uncertain. Of course, Marvelous Nakamba being the former captain of the Zimbabwe Warriors football team. This is in your sport update.
Yes, Zimbabwe footballer, and he is still currently Zimbabwe Warriors captain. Marvelous Nakamba's future at Luton Town are uncertain after they suffered back-to-back relegations on Saturday. A dismal 5-3 defeat at West Brom on the final day of the championship. The Hatters have finished 22nd in the second tier of English football and will be playing in League One for the 2025-2026 season. Luton will thus be forced to transfer some of their big earners, a category Zim captain Marvelous Nakamba will fit. So his future at Luton is uncertain. He might be transferred, and he's one of the earners at Luton Football Club. So right now, his future at Luton is uncertain, and we're not sure what is going to happen for Nakamba, or which football team will he play for next. But we're just hoping for the best for the Zimbabwe captain, Marvelous Nakamba.
I think I was a little thrown off because I thought Marshall Munetsi had been given the captaincy, but alas, you are correct. Now, we end with some entertainment. Ja Praise's album launch shuts down Harare.
Yes, Ja Praise's latest album launch drew thousands and thousands of people at Harare's Old Hararians Sports Club, and it is his 14th studio album, and it did shut down Harare. Most people went for the album launch, and many people praised Ja Praise. They said that this is one of his best work, and his album contains songs like Evo, which is trending already on social media, on TikTok, and he had some of Zimbabwe's premium celebrities and some of Zimbabwe's musicians perform at his album launch. It was definitely a shutdown for Zimbabwe's, rather, it was shut down in Zimbabwe for those who love Japreza. But people are saying that it's not fair that Japreza's album launch, there was no security which was threatening him on the stage. Rather, when Winky D does the same, we find out that the police will actually invade his album launch, or rather his shows. So people are saying that it's not fair that Winky D is treated in a certain way and Japreza is treated in a certain way, when both are Zimbabwe's biggest artists. They should at least be given the same treatment, and the other one should be allowed to perform, to do whatever he wants without the security forces coming to disrupt his performances. But Japreza definitely drew thousands and thousands of people for his album, for his 14th album launch.
Well, congratulations to Japreza, but yeah, you know, siya magafaro emanzi, amana, siya magafaro emanzi. Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
It's always good to have Talent on Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the economic indicators. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk announced via X that Starlink is now operational in Congo following the Democratic Republic of Congo's decision to grant the satellite internet provider a license. This move reverses a March 2024 ban when authorities concerned about potential use by rebel groups like the Rwandan-backed M23 halted Starlink's activities. The DRC, struggling with low internet penetration, only 30% of its population had online access in 2023, now joins over a dozen African nations where Starlink is expanding rapidly. The approval marks a significant step in improving connectivity in a conflict-affected region where traditional infrastructure has lagged. The Congolese government reversal signals a shift in policy towards embracing technology to bridge digital divides. That's been our economic news story, and those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 2 at 5, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube. Tomorrow we zone in on Botswana, but for now, from me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Jaganaka.